Okay, great. So welcome everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Eileen Corcoran. I'm the Community Outreach Manager at the Vermont Historical Society, and we're super excited to have you at our virtual roundtable today, talking about sort of mechanics of an effective online presence. And so should be some really great information and discussion. A couple quick tech notes. Definitely feel free to use the chat. We have a fair number of people with us today, so it's going to be a little difficult to see who may want to say something. So if you don't want to unmute, you can ask a question or have some discussion in the chat, or let us know you'd like to talk if we don't see you, or use the hand raise function in Zoom as well. We'll try to hopefully get to everybody as we go. But today we're super excited to have Mike Lannon here from Eternity Marketing. Mike and Eternity are the folks who we've been working with the last year and a half or so on the redo of our website, as well as now working on an update to our History Explorer website and our new online catalog. So lots of great work with these guys, and I'm super excited to have Mike here today. So Mike, I'm going to basically turn it over for you now for a little bit of presentation, lots of great information, and go from there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Eileen. I'm going to get my screen share set up here, so just bear with me one moment. All right, quick thumbs up if everyone can see the screen clearly. All good? Awesome. All right, so my name is Mike Lannon. I'm the founder of Eternity. We're a website design and development firm out of Burlington and Barrie. And today I'm going to focus on kind of 5 core things that you can really do to have a good online presence and make Google happy. But it's going to be a very open discussion kind of by design. So please feel free, like Eileen said, to pop a question inside chat. Would really like to keep this engaging and not just me going through slides with a death by PowerPoint. So I'll definitely pick on some people, and I have some prompts as well for questions. So just a very quick brief history on us. I started the firm in my dorm room 21 years ago at Champlain College. So I've been now doing it longer than I haven't. We've got a growing team, all remote now, of course, but our home base is in Burlington. I live in Barrie with my wife, Molly, and 2 girls, Claire and Ella. They're 7 and 3. And I have been working with the Historical Society now for like a couple of, who knows what time is now with COVID, a couple of years, basically just adding a year to everything now. And really excited today to chat with you all. But I'd like to start all my presentations with an inspirational quote, and I thought this one was fitting with our brand. So if you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat and just get on. And it's by Sheryl Sandberg, who's the CEO of Facebook. And the reason I use that today is that there's a lot going on in the world of the interwebs, and with social and Google and so many different things to keep track of. It can sometimes feel like, well, I'll just do it tomorrow. But my kind of mantra to everything is there's no better time like today to just get going on it. So to start things on a nice comedic note, who would like to take a best guess at the best place to hide a dead body? Anybody want to take a stab at that in the chat or unmute? Not everybody all at once. A cemetery. Yep, that is a very good place to hide a dead body. Thanks, Dennis. So our answer to that is page 2 of Google. And that's because no one goes there. People, when someone's looking for something, usually I will say to a business client that we're chatting with, unless someone's researching something like, for history, they might go to page 2, but even then they're typically not going past page 1. And that's because 95% of the traffic goes to page 1 when someone's searching for anything, whether it be some sort of historical note or a service that they're looking for. people have the attention span of a goldfish and don't really want to take that much time. And the top 3 results on Google get 75% of the clicks. So if your site is not on page 1 and it's not in at least those like top 3 or 4 results, it's going to have a lot harder time attracting any conversions. So before I hop into any other slides, I'd love to just kind of have an open engagement with anybody that wants to unmute with what their overall like biggest struggle with, whether it's their website or social or how Google works. If anybody wants to either just pop a question inside the chat, and then you could unmute if you wish to have a live engagement. Feel free.
Are you using Google generically, or do you mean specifically the Google search engine?
Specifically the Google search engine.
Does what you say apply to any other search engine?
Google has about, and it might be off a little bit on the number, but about 86% what's called market share for people that use it. So there are folks that use Bing and I think Dogpile, and there's a couple of other kind of privacy concerned ones out there. Google makes up the majority of it. Those stats of like the page 1 kind of informations are going to be pretty accurate for those search engines as well. Like most people just do not go past page 1.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, so Barbara, keeping website lively was your question there. So by that, do you mean just like struggling with kind of putting new content on there in general, or the time to do it, or if you want to unmute and have a live chat about it, feel free.
Yeah, that was me, Barbara. I'm speaking from the Brattleboro Historical Society, and we just don't make changes in our website, and it seems like nobody goes there because it's just sort of dead. I also work with the SD Organ Museum, and we change our website a lot, so I can see that it makes a difference.
Yeah. So definitely having your website have ever-changing content, whether it be through a blog or kind of focus on new information at the society or at the museum, is important not only for Google but for humans. So Google checks thousands of different things when it's trying to kind of assess, should this be put on page 1 when someone's doing a search. And one of those thousands of things that it looks at is how often your site's updated. I have a couple of slides in the deck that provide some really useful tools on how to come up with content to try and find what people are actually searching for. Do you find your struggle being coming up with content that people are going to be interested in, or just finding the time to do it?
Both.
Both. Okay, fair enough. Well, I can help with one of those probably. So yeah, I'll talk about this in one of the coming slides, but it's a tool that we highly recommend. It's called Phrase. We'll just put it inside the chat. It's spelled in kind of a weird way, but it allows you to pop in a phrase of any kind. It could even just be a keyword, and it'll give you a list of if people are searching for it on Google, how often they're searching for it, and other variations to that content, to that concept. So it kind of gives you some insights on, should I even write content about this? Are people even looking for it? And kind of gives you a nice kind of glimpse to make sure you don't invest a bunch of time in something that no one cares about.
That's great. Thank you.
Of course. Bonnie asks, we have a pretty good Facebook page and following, but I wonder if we should also be active on other social media to attract younger participants. So yeah, that is, I mean, my global answer to that is be on as many social channels as appropriate. For most, it might not make sense to be on Snapchat and TikTok right now, unless there is a desire to like really be laser targeting a more youthful demographic of like 16 years old to 25 years old, if you're trying to hit that demographic really consistently and globally, then TikTok is definitely the way to do that. But it's a completely different animal than Facebook. You can't just post a photo and in a great caption and kind of be done. You have to really think about it, and it's a video social network. So you either have to be super comfortable being in front of the camera or filming other things and kind of keeping up with trends. But as a global recommendation, Facebook and Instagram hit the widest general audience, and in most businesses, nonprofits, etc., it's going to hit that demographic that most of them are after, the ones that are either looking to buy something or the age demographic that's looking to find information that kind of matches that that criteria. So I would say if you're not on any social media right now, like at all, start with Facebook, get really consistent with it, post daily if you can. I know that may sound like a lot, but if you want to get further reach and get more recognition and following, post daily, and then hop to Instagram after that. It's a different, Instagram is a very different network. It's very photo centric. So you wouldn't post the same exact stuff that you would to Facebook, that you would to Instagram. You want more curated photos that get sent on Instagram. But it can also be a way to kind of show some behind the scenes, going ons at the at one of the organizations.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Instagram has been the one I've been wondering about.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to reach a different audience and just expand your following, because there are some that are just much more active on particular networks. Like I have an account on every single one of them, but I'm much more kind of active and engaged and scrolling a lot more on Instagram than Facebook. And I use Facebook a lot more during the day and Instagram a lot more at night. So it can kind of depend on who you're trying to target demographic wise and time of day wise.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Of course. Mary asks, making our virtual exhibits more dynamic. Videos so far have been done using our iPhones, uploading to YouTube, and creating a link on our website. All right, so something you may want to look into, Mary, if not already, are fully like immersive virtual 360s, I think they're called. They're like a 360 spin. If you've ever been on like on a real estate website before, you probably have seen those before, where it almost kind of looks like a video game. You can spin around the space that you're in. It's not a video, it's photos, but just thousands of photos stitched together. So you can really kind of navigate around. And there actually are a couple of companies in Vermont that specialize in doing that. They come on site, they have a very special camera tripod set up with tons of cameras. And the really cool thing about it, though, is working with a company like one of those, you can tag particular items inside that 360 spin with a little like footnote bubble. So when someone's spinning around looking at the exhibit, they can click on that little dot and a little pop-up can come up with information about that particular exhibit, and then even link off to a sub-page or another resource. We're starting to see that more and more on other like museums and any kind of websites for showing like an in-person experience when you can't go, when you cannot go in person. So they're usually called 360 spins or virtual 360 tours. And there's a couple of companies in Vermont that I know that offer that. And it's usually not incredibly expensive considering the value that it adds to be able to show off your exhibits.
What is a reasonable amount to budget for an online presence?
Oh, that is a good question, and one that's difficult to answer in one sentence. So, in my opinion, an online presence is your website, your social media, your email marketing, your content. Like it's almost like an ecosystem. Your website itself like if you kind of focused on just that, just your, whatever.com, your domain name, I would say that the sky is kind of the limit on what that could be. You could work with a solopreneur and maybe invest $1,500, into an online presence and get something that's better than, than doing it yourself or using like a GoDaddy or a Wix. You can work with really, really large agencies, and it could be, 20,000 plus. So there's such a wide kind of dispersed range of prices. We see, at least in Vermont, on average for a professionally made website, as opposed to just like kind of picking a template, that range on average is in the like 5 to 10,000 range for a full, professionally built website that kind of has all that going for it. But there's lots of options, like I said, to spend far less than that. Kind of depends on what you're looking to accomplish.
Thank you.
Of course. Let's see. Julie asked, will you be discussing ideas for coming up with ideas for a daily Facebook post? I will. I have a tool to share about that. Greg said, learning for new WordPress block editor, finding the time to update the 10-plus-year-old blog view to work better on devices. Yeah, so the WordPress is a great system in that you can have very little web knowledge and pick a template and get a website up and going really easily. What can sometimes happen is the theme systems that it's built on can tend to go out of date, and it's harder to fix them without starting from scratch. Yeah, it might be worth potentially investing or looking into building a new website and transferring the information over. That's typically the approach that we would recommend, because it might be hard to fix, especially if it's 10 plus years old.
Yeah.
How that works.
Hi, Mike. This is Greg. Yes, you are correct. Yeah, it's no longer supported, and I need to migrate it to another template.
Yeah. What is your background in web, like on a scale of like 1 to 10, 1 being like technological Luddite and 10 being like I invented the internet? Like, where do you range yourself?
I'm probably in the middle. I
Yep.
consider myself in the middle. Yeah.
In the middle. I would recommend if you want to get your hands.
I can code in HTML to at a basic level and look online to figure out if I don't know something. So
I would say then if you're not afraid to get your hands dirty a little bit, I would recommend investigating another content management system called ModX, MODX. It's the one that we use at Eternity for all of our builds, and it doesn't have as many like pick a template that looks good. The blue one, launch it live. It's a bit more custom in building it, but way more flexible and easier to add stuff on and not have to worry about some theme that somebody else built, especially if you're going to start from scratch.
CSS in terms of trying to get things to match up.
Exactly. Yeah, it gives you much better access to do that yourself if you're familiar with a little bit of coding.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Let's see. All right. So I think that kind of goes through some of those initial questions there. And any other kind of last minute questions before I hop into some other slides? You can, of course, add more questions throughout. All righty. So I always like to have some cool freebies and giveaways and tools inside my presentation. So if you're looking to build a new website, this planner that's linked within this slide. So at the end of the presentation, you can text me. I'll give you the full presentation, or you can get it from Eileen. It does not mean you having to go with Eternity in any way, and you do not get added to any kind of sales lists of any kind, I promise, Scout's honor. But it's a planner that just kind of helps you put all of your thoughts together if you're thinking about building a new website, whether you're doing it yourself or trying to find somebody to build it. It asks a lot of questions that you might not be thinking of until it's too late, to put them all together and really have a nice plan and strategy. And like I said, at the end, you can text me for the entire presentation. And feel free to just interrupt me. I would love to answer questions more than go over slides. So what we're going to cover quickly today is SEO 101, just basics of SEO. And SEO stands for search engine optimization. So consider that the 101 of making Google happy. Planning your website, a site audit, reports, and optimization. So some very kind of top level basics of Google. When you use google.com, there are a lot of different things going on that result, but in the very tip top are what are called ads, Google ads. And then below that are organic results. So you get to be inside the ads by paying Google, and you get to show up inside those organic results by having a well-created website, changing content, tons of other factors, but those are kind of the two main elements, if you will, of a search engine result page. And then if you have ever noticed in a result how there's kind of two main elements to that said result, the blue or purple link that you click on and the text that's below it. So that title that you click on is called an SEO title or search engine optimized title. You can change that title inside your website to better rank for what that person's going to be typing in. So if the SEO title of your homepage is like welcome to our society or welcome or home, it's going to be optimized well for that phrase, which is probably not the thing you want to rank for. So inside your website system, in most all of them, you can change that title, and you can also change what's called the description that shows up. So it basically gives you full control over what you're telling Google that you want to rank for. And that's just kind of an example, of course, of what a search engine result listing looks like. And the difference between ads and organic has become less and less. They used to be like highlighted in yellow and outlined. And now they just have a very subtle ad on them. Something that I like to mention, because I'm very surprised how many nonprofits have not heard of this. Quick raise of hands, or anybody wants to pop into the chat, heard of what's called Google Grants. Like I said, I'm very surprised how many people have not heard about it. This will probably be the biggest takeaway from the presentation, so I don't want to forget about it. So it's called Google Grants. And as long as you are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, you can apply to Google Grants. And it gives you $10,000 per month forever to spend on Google Ads. And it allows you to pop up in these top results here for certain keywords and phrases. There's a bunch of limitations to what you can and can't do with it, but we manage a lot of nonprofit clients and help them spend almost all of that ad spend. It's a great way to drive new traffic to your site if you're struggling to do that organically. And especially for some of the kind of niche things that you might want to be showing up on page 1 for anyways, it can be a great way to show up there and potentially organically. Any questions on that? All right. Oh, my scroll just freaked out there. Sorry about that. Okay, back to normal. So just some other examples of search engine results there. If you have blogs, or while this might not really make sense, to have like recipes show up, but there's different types of information that you can send to Google specifically around events. Recipes is another example here, but events, blog articles, where they can show up in a much more kind of featured, dynamic format. They're called rich snippets, and it's just a great way to show up in Google beyond just the text listings that are there. It takes a little bit more kind of getting geeked out into the code, but it's a great way just to send more of that information to Google. And then Google My Business. If you don't already have this claimed for your organization, please do. It's a great way to, again, show up inside Google results. If there is the ability or the need for people to leave reviews of any kind. It's the only way that you can respond to those said reviews to someone. And it's just another way to take advantage of showing up inside Google. Any questions so far on that kind of SEO 101s? Alrighty. Planning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about keyword research. I'm not going to get too kind of deep into the weeds because I just want to keep things kind of top level and stay on time here. But one of the common questions that we get asked is, what do I optimize my website for? I hear about these keywords and meta titles and meta tags, like, but where do I start? The simplest recommendation that we tell people to start with is as simple as it may sound, is Google itself. So you may have experienced this on your own. You hop into google.com, either on your phone, your computer, and you start typing in a key phrase, and then it just kind of like automatically finishes the rest of your sentence for you. And it does that based off of what other millions of other people are typing in. So if you start typing in a particular keyword or phrase and you're seeing something autocomplete in that dropdown, it's because lots of people are searching for the answer to that question or for that product. And it's a very quick, simple way to kind of just get a snapshot of, what should I be optimizing my site for? What should the titles of pages be? What should the content be about? I'm going to skip over that particular tool for now. Google Ads is a great way to get more of that information. So regardless if you have a Google Grant account, you can use the Google Ads system for free to do research. So you can pop in keywords and phrases, and it will tell you exactly how many people are searching for that particular keyword or phrase on a monthly basis. And not that it would apply to you if you had a Google Grant account, but it tells you how much the average cost per click is for that keyword. So again, it just kind of gives you some information on, like, are people looking for this information? How much are they looking for it? And gives you an ability to kind of figure out, all right, that's what I should write blog content about. That's what I should write Facebook information about, because people are looking for answers to those particular questions or to that particular topic. Another really cool tool, kind of call it the secret agent. It's called SpyFu. So if you want to see what a, not that I would necessarily consider you all like competitors of each other, kind of working together, but if you wanted to see like what another, competing society was doing, like in a different state per se, you can pop in their website and it will tell you how they've optimized their site, the keywords that they're using, if they're buying any paid ads, how long their site has been around for, other competitors that are similar. So this is really for not as much the light of heart kind of on this stuff. It gets into the really geekiness of it. But if that's something that you want to learn more about, SpyFu is a really great tool to find out how to best optimize your site by looking at others. And then just another kind of freebie here, if you download the presentation, we have a keyword planner inside there that just kind of helps you, using all those tools, putting your information together into a keyword planner to sort of start mapping out the ideas for your content pillars throughout the site. Quick raise of hands or in chat, does anybody use Google Analytics currently on their website or familiar with Google Analytics? Yeah, so it's basically the quickest free way to get information about your site. And it will track who comes to your site, how often they stay there, what pages they go to, the flow of which they go through content, what geographic location they came from. And we highly recommend using that if you have it installed on your site already. If you're thinking about building a new site and you're not sure where to start for your navigation, like how to line up the menu bar of your website, you can use Google Analytics to tell you that information. It will say, this page has the most amount of traffic, or this page has the least amount of traffic. So if someone's saying, hey, but I really want my button to be in the top level navigation right on the top, you can just kind of use numbers more than opinions to say, well, that acquainted to like 1% of our traffic. We probably shouldn't put that in the top level. Maybe that could be a drop down. So it's a great tool to kind of use data to dictate how you build and structure your site. All right, popping into some content stuff here. So I'm sure we all have heard this, that content is king. We at Eternity recommend if you don't have a blog on your website to create one, or to start explore creating one. And as a bare minimum, recommending writing 2 blogs per month. It's the quickest way that you can drive more traffic to your site, especially if you use some of those tools in the planning to kind of figure out what people are looking to answers to. And then we also recommend posting daily to social. It could be sharing one of those blog posts, but that shouldn't be the only thing that you share to social. It's a great way to generate more leads and traffic, potential members to your site. And it also just kind of helps battle your competitors, kind of depending on who you view as, competitors. Even in a nonprofit, kind of agency, other competitors could be potential donors, potential memberships. So it's a different kind of competitor, but competitors for attention, even though it's not kind of a business to business competitor. And those that blog that 1 to 2 times per month will generate 70% more leads. So whatever that kind of lead is, if it's just someone paying for a membership or using the society, it's a great way and can be a free way if you invest your time into creating that content. So this is a little bit on that phrase tool. I think it was, I have to scroll up, but I think it was Barb or Bonnie that both kind of had questions about keeping things lively and what to post to Facebook. This phrase tool lets you pop in any kind of subject. So in this screenshot, just popped in wedding planning here, but it will give you, it scours the internet. It looks at Google, it looks at user forums, it looks at autocomplete data, social data, and it gives you a list of things that people are looking for answers for. So like in this example, wedding planning, there's one of them, a wedding planning checklist, wedding planning websites, wedding planning tips. It gives you ideas that you could write blogs about, that of social content that you could create. And it tells you how much people are searching for those on a monthly basis to kind of give you a sort of a barometer, if you will, of what, if that content is worth actually writing about. And an even cooler thing, this is probably my most favorite part of Phrase, is once you kind of get that particular topic that you want to write about, you pop that into this planner here. It's called the content brief. And it looks at every single website that currently ranks on Google on page 1 for that particular topic. And it looks at every single one of those articles, looks at the things that those share in common, how many words long they were, how many links they had, how many photos they had, what the headings were, if it answered particular questions, and basically gives you a recipe for exactly how to construct your blog content. So if you like writing, but are struggling kind of what to come up with to write about and how long it should be, Phrase is a great tool to do that. And then talking a bit on social, kind of across the board there, as I mentioned, Facebook and Instagram are really kind of the go-to sort of bare minimum, in our opinion, for social networks. But LinkedIn, when appropriate, could be a way to kind of capture a different audience in a different way, especially because there'll be a lot less folks potentially using it in that manner. And then Pinterest might possibly be one. I just don't know enough about in that kind of historical side of things if Pinterest would be a way to do it. But I think that it could, mainly because it's one of I think it's the second or third biggest search engine that people will use Pinterest when they're trying to find information or inspiration. And it's another way to drive traffic back to your site. So there might be some exhibit information that could be posted into pins on different boards on Pinterest. And then TikTok, I think it still needs many years to kind of capture the audience that you all might be looking for. But I always just recommend registering your brand name on some of these particular social networks. Even if you don't plan to use it anytime soon, just registering your name there, your handle, if you will, so it can be the same across all of them. Should even 5 years in the future you want to use that network, you don't have to worry about somebody already grabbing your name. And one of the other questions that we get asked, or just kind of complaints that we hear, is there's so many of these social networks. I don't want to have to log into each and every one of them and post something completely separate to each and every one of them. Well, for that, there's two tools that we recommend. One that's called Hootsuite and one that's called HeyOrca. They're both almost exactly the same in many regards, kind of like Mac versus PC. It's mostly just a preference. They both do the same thing, but they allow you to connect any of the social networks that you use. So say it's Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can connect them all inside here. You come just into this tool and you can create your post, upload your photo, upload your video, write out your hashtags, etc., schedule them all on a calendar, and kind of walk away. And it automatically posts those at the day, time that you specified. And we use it for all of our social media clients that we manage, but you can also use the same tool to manage your posts and possibly save some time on not having to log into 3 different complete social channels. So some takeaway kind of action items for that section. Phrase.io is that tool for kind of capturing ideas for content and how to write a good blog or social posts. And then Hootsuite and HeyOrca are great tools to check out. They both have free trials. Some of them even have like a forever free version if you just have like 1 or 2 channels that you want to schedule content to. Any questions so far? Sorry about that. All right, getting towards the final stretch here and into site audit. So we always believe that you really have to benchmark. So a great tool to do that, one of them is called Google Search Engine Console. The cool thing about this is it tells you a whole bunch of things about your website that might be improperly set up. So it's a free tool. You Google for Search Engine Console, pop in your website. There's a little verification process. It'll tell you how many people are coming to your site, but also a bunch of other technical information and errors that might be on your website that you need to fix that are preventing Google from indexing your site or preventing Google from indexing your site the best that it could. Another really neat tool, again, if you kind of want to get a little bit more into the weeds, is called SEMrush, SEMrush. And they have a free version and also a paid version, depending on how deep you want to go. But it gets really into the nitty gritty of each and every critical kind of thing that's wrong with your website, why Google's not indexing you, why people might be abandoning your site, and gives you kind of a step-by-step list of instructions of you need to fix this, you need to install that, your site's not secure, it's not mobile friendly enough. It's a really, really powerful tool that you might need to work with your host or web developer kind of in tandem to fix some of them, but it's a great way to apply some of those things. And most of the common things that it will come across are things like duplicate or missing title tags. So those title tags that we kind of went over in the beginning of the slide deck, that is basically what Google sees in the results. A lot of those being duplicated or missing, and walks you through how to fix those. And also broken links. So if you have links out to another resource on your website and those links are broken, Google penalizes you for that. I know it doesn't really seem fair, but basically if you are presenting content to a user that's not valid anymore, Google doesn't deem you as worthy of being shown up inside Google. And then images that don't have what's called alt text on them. So that has kind of like a double whammy effect for kind of ADA compliance for accessibility. If those images don't have alt text, folks that are visually impaired cannot hear what that image is, but Google also penalizes you for not having those descriptions on there. You can also track your progress. So if you make a whole bunch of changes to your site and you see where you were ranking currently in search results, You can make a bunch of those changes and over time watch yourself improve or decline, kind of depending on the changes that you made. And it's a great way to just sort of keep track on all these many, many things. So highly recommend checking out SEMrush. If you just want to even have an audit done of your site, you can run the audit yourself and share it with your web person if you have one and say, hey, can you, address some of these concerns? And then if you want to learn even more about all this stuff, because it is a lot, Google has what's called a skill shop set up. So it used to be a paid service only available to agencies like ourselves, but now it's completely free. So again, it's for those that want to learn a lot more, but they have fully detailed videos. It's all the training that we use to learn about how Google Analytics works, how search engines work, how to properly build a website. It's a really great resource. And a last one is called Moz, M-O-Z. They have some amazing free resources on how Google works, how to structure a website. Even if you don't end up implementing it all, we highly recommend just educating yourself. So if you're talking with a web developer or reviewing some proposals, you at least know enough to be dangerous and to not get like bamboozled by them when they try to confuse you with a bunch of acronyms. All right, so I got a question side here from Greg. Is there a template you use to structure or organize content? Generally, or like for blogs or for the website itself, Greg? If you want to
unmuting here, sorry.
That's good.
Yeah, just one of the things, like to structure the content so people can find things, because it's not just a little bit of stuff we have a lot of stuff. So how to structure that so that in the beginning you talked about that one page kind of thing. Well, with the blog you kind of have a running slide bar there. So how do you structure that extra information and content that's kind of user friendly?
Yeah, to make it like as easily accessible to the user, kind of a
Yes.
thing. Yeah, so I would say, even though this isn't the definitive answer, having a really good search system on your website. So a good majority of ones built into systems aren't great, but having an easily accessible search system and properly tagging those blogs, so when folks come to that site, they can either find the category that they want by clicking one of those tags for a blog, or you have a very visible and easy to use search, because I think we've all been kind of trained to use search with Google. And I will just randomly like type in a brand name instead of going to the actual like full website URL, mostly just because I've been trained to be lazy. But beyond having like a really good search system in place on the site and tagging blogs, using the systems like Phrase that I'd shown previous, by allowing it to kind of index what other sites are doing and how they're ranking on page one, can give you a lot of insights on how to structure your own content. And then I think just lastly on that, less is more. So more video, more photo content with like short captions linking to deeper information, as opposed to like paragraphs upon paragraphs. The worst thing you could do is have a homepage with just like 12 paragraphs of content on it. I know as silly as that may sound, there's lots of sites that are structured like that, and it's not user friendly and it won't benefit you in the long run.
Can you talk a little bit also about alt tags? What's your view on that? I kind of take a minimalist point of view, just to have something there.
Yeah, so the alt tags specifically on images, like primarily are there for what are called text readers, for folks that are visually impaired. So think of it as whatever you as a visual user get from looking at that photo, describe what that photo is to that person without sight. So think of it less as like trying to make Google happy and filling it with keywords and phrases, but more just trying to make that person able to know what that is a photo of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just how far do you go with that? I just kind of photo of blood. I don't go into keywords and things like that.
Yeah, typically like a small sentence, so like nothing very long. Like if it's two male workers working on an old granite shed. Like it could be as simple as that if it was like an old historic photo, it kind of dictating that.
Okay.
I got a question from Barbara, difference between blogs and e-newsletters. So I would describe those as the main difference between those being one's kind of outbound and one is more like inbound. So e-newsletters, you're sending those out to people like outbound, you know, they may not know that your site exists. They may, but you're sending it to their inbox, sending some sort of information, where blogs are more like inbound. So unless you have some sort of like a blog subscription kind of thing on your website, people aren't going to get notified of those blogs. It's mainly there for Google, so you can rank for those particular terms, or just when people come back to your site and revisit it, there's something new for them to read about that's informative. But they can work really well in tandem together, because a very, very simple strategy, not a definitive one in any way, would be that, you know, if you write a blog a week and you have a newsletter that you want to send out once a month, your once a month newsletter could be like a short teaser of those 4 blogs within it. So, and then allow that user to click into the website to read that full blog. The worst thing you can do in an e-newsletter is make it like anything more than like a couple paragraphs of text. If it's like a forever scroll, like this happened in the year of review, there's no quicker way to kind of get to the bottom, into the spam folder of that user, and just make them short and sweet, and then link people back to your site, because you don't want a dead end. You don't want people reading that newsletter and being, great, that's all the information I needed, job done. You want them to come back to your website and spend time on your site and look at other content. All right, wrapping things up here into reports and optimization. So with all that stuff that I fully expect for you to fully digest and be able to do all this stuff yourself now, by the way, to measure your success. So if you're not measuring what you're doing, it's just, there's no way to improve things or to know what to improve. So some tools that you can use for that are Google Analytics, for one. You can track pretty much everything that someone does on a website. So if you're trying to kind of assess certain goals, whether people are signing up for your newsletter, or they filled out a contact form, or they made a donation, or they applied for a membership, you can set all those things up as goals and events and track those over time. Google Analytics does not track them unless you have like your web person check that and set those up. But then it allows you to kind of best assess over time if you happen to pay for some sort of a campaign, or you put an ad online, like in a newspaper, and you want to track if that traffic from the site created any kind of conversion beyond like, oh, it brought 100 more people to our site. Clicks are more of kind of a vanity metric. You want to know if it created a donation or a contact form or a membership, etc. So it's a great way to track all of that inside Google Analytics. And SEMrush as well. So you can use SEMrush kind of over time to track all those recommendations that it gives with errors that are on your site, and see if it's affecting the quality of your site and your rankings and all that stuff. I see a question from Bonnie here. What is the best online payment system for use on a website? I would recommend, if you can, look into what's called Stripe, like a zebra stripe. Just pop it in the chat here. Spell it right. So Stripe was created by one of the co-founders of PayPal. Their payment structure is exactly the same. So there's no setup fee, there's no monthly fee. It's just a 2.9% plus 25 cents or something like that. The only con is Stripe does not have a nonprofit discount version. PayPal, depending on how old your organization is, you might have a free account, but they also have a discounted version with PayPal. The nice thing about Stripe, though, is if you integrate it into a site, it doesn't bounce them out to PayPal and then bounce them back to your site. It keeps them right within your site. but both PayPal and Stripe are really kind of our go-to recommendations. And then another tool that we recommend is called Hotjar. This is where things get kind of like borderline Big Brother creepy. So we have this on a couple of our client sites, and in like the little quick kind of GIF here, it shows you what we see. So it records every transaction of someone using this site. So it shows where their mouse moves, where they stopped, what they clicked on. It literally is like having a camera watching their screen, and shows where they might be having issues. And it can give you some really cool information. If you're like, why aren't people clicking on this donate, or why aren't people clicking over here? It will show people like not scrolling to the bottom. And then maybe you need to move something up to the top to get kind of more action on it. Or it could show people trying to fill out a form and having an issue and not being able to click submit, where you normally would not be able to see in any other kind of tools or reports. So a little Big Brother, but it's really powerful in being able to find issues to fix on a site. So some action items: get Google Analytics installed on your site. If you don't have it already, it's free. There's no reason not to have it, and it's a great way to track traffic. SEMrush to be able to fix, but also kind of see and measure success over time with the changes you make to your site. And that, albeit somewhat creepy, but awesomely powerful tool called Hotjar to record what people are doing on your site. And then last here, the slide that'll end with a lot of presentations because it's funny but also sad, that 73% of people will leave a website in 6 seconds if they can't find what they're looking for. And I've been using this particular end slide for a while now, and I started with it was about 8 seconds. And our attention span just keeps going down. I don't know who keeps track of that. And I also don't know who keeps track of this, but I found the source of it. And a goldfish has an attention span of 9 seconds. So yay, human race. Goldfish has a better attention span than us. And really the reason that I focus on this slide is because it doesn't matter if your site ranks #1 on Google and gets all the traffic to the site, if it's super outdated and a decade old and is just completely convoluted with text and not any clear call to actions of like, where should I go? What should I click on? A less is more approach will really kind of bring more engagement to your site. So that I think wraps me up for time here. I think I'm a little over. I see one more question here from Wiz. About 10 years ago, I was spending a lot of attention to human-computer interface issues. Has any of that changed? So Wiz, are you referring to like the accessibility devices for folks that may have an impairment, like the physical devices that plug into a computer?
No, it was things like don't have flashing this, and keep your colors confined to a particular range. It was all based on research having to do with how people interact with the computers.
Yeah.
I've forgotten, Ben Schneiderman was the big name at the University of Maryland who was driving the research. And I'm just wondering if any of that is valid anymore.
Yeah, so quick answer is yes. I could probably have like a whole other slide deck, and I do about that, but it does directly relate a bit to what's called ADA or accessibility. So for color, there's certain colors like you should not use blue and yellow a lot together on the same, because for folks that are blue-yellow colorblind, they can't distinguish the difference. So there's a whole list of ADA accessibility things for color, as well as contrast. So if you have like a light gray text on a white background and people can't read it, it's going to make it inaccessible for a great majority of our target audience. If you can't change the font size on a site easily, things of that nature have a huge impact in the folks that are going to be navigating the site. And then there's a whole like emotional component to color as well. But yeah, I definitely feel that is incredibly important today still.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So like I said, I think I'm pretty much at time, but I am more than happy to answer any other questions if those have it. Otherwise, if you do want a copy of the entire presentation with the many kind of tools and tips there, you can shoot me an email to mike@eternitymarketing.com, or if you'd rather just text, you can just text the word history to 802-865-2000, and I'll send you a copy of the presentation. And again, Eagle Scout promise, you're not going to get a single newsletter, spam, sales call. It's just the presentation. If you want to follow up with me, feel free. Otherwise, you're not going to hear from me. And that's all I got.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Mike. We do have a couple more minutes for, again, I certainly think any questions we still have, or any discussion, burning questions that folks still want to answer, or things you want to share. I think, again, we've all got 10, 15 people on our website and communications teams. So I look forward to us all being able to do this. So yeah, anything else before we digest this all? Oh, looks like folks are
Good program, Eileen. Thank you for setting it up.
great. All right. So one question from Jennifer: tips for keeping up with Twitter.
That's a good question. So, I mean, I probably shouldn't be saying this from like a digital marketing perspective, but like we barely use Twitter, and we have content that goes there from our other social channels when appropriate. Like we'll use Hey Orca and Hootsuite to kind of share it over there. But Twitter does have some built-in like what's trending if you're looking to kind of keep up with any of those like trending topics, but they might not really be relevant to your organization. So I guess my very long-winded way of saying I don't have a huge amount of as much experience with Twitter because we haven't found our clients having as much impact, from it compared to the other networks. But I could, is it Jennifer? If you want to shoot me an email, I could put you in touch with a colleague of mine that might be able to give you some more insights specifically on Twitter.
That would be great because we use Facebook and Instagram heavily, and we have a Twitter account. And so many times we've sat there at our communications team meeting and been like, should we just get rid of Twitter? Because it's not the one we go to very often. But it's actually the platform we have the most, well, after Facebook, the most followers on. But I have the least amount of experience with Twitter, and I find it really hard to keep up with it and really like, I don't know. So we're kind of like, is it better to have it and then post to it when we think of it, or just get rid of it altogether? So that's kind of where we're at with Twitter right now.
I would say as long as you can consistently post something to it that's relevant to your audience, to do that, but just maybe to not super overthink it. But yeah, it is a weird, like I'm surprised that Twitter still exists, especially with just other things that Twitter has been used for. But yeah, I guess I wouldn't focus on it too much, but one of my colleagues might be able to sway you of that or come up with some other ideas if you want to shoot me an email.
I will absolutely do that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Let's see, a couple other questions in here.
Yeah, I'd say I had somebody at one point a few years ago tell me Vermont is not on Twitter. So we're not the Twitter kind of folk, I guess. So
it feels that way.
So that might be partially an audience thing, partially, where we're at with why it seems like it's the third most important for most of us.
Yes.
Any other last questions? Burning anything? All right. So I'm going to stop the recording.